Welcome to Vegan Business Talk with Katrina Fox, author of Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business. Hello and welcome to episode 88 of Vegan Business Talk. I'm Katrina Fox, journalist, author, media and PR coach, copywriter, editor and proofreader, and founder of Vegan Business Media, a content, events and training platform providing success tips for vegan business owners and entrepreneurs. Now, before we get into the main part of the show, I wanted to let you know that I've opened up enrolment again to my online PR course and group coaching program, Vegans in the Limelight. I ran the course for the first time earlier this year with a group of vegan business owners and entrepreneurs from across the globe over a 12-week period. And it now comes with a full 12 months of group coaching, including a monthly live question and answer call. You can also post your questions on the learning platform, and you can post your pitches to get feedback from me before you send them to journalists. So you've basically got me holding your hand, helping you to do your own PR for a full year. It's a great value program. It's way more affordable than similar courses, and it's the only one that's specifically aimed at vegan and plant-based business owners and entrepreneurs. Some of the current students have already got media coverage in mainstream and specialist newspapers, magazines, radio and TV shows. So if you'd like to get your vegan brand or yourself featured in the media, but you don't have the budget to hire a publicist or a PR agency, then I highly recommend you check out this program. You get full and immediate access to the materials as soon as you enroll. You can find out all the details by going to veganbusinessmedia.com and clicking on the link for the course Vegans in the Limelight. In this episode, I interview Billy Simmonds, founder of ECO Superfoods, a natural vegan and organic health and fitness products company in Queensland, Australia. Billy is a martial artist, bodybuilder, powerlifter, and winner of the 2009 Mr. Universe title in Hollywood. An authority in health and nutrition, he served as a strength and conditioning coach to athletes around the world. 20 years ago, he worked in the supplements industry in a health food store that is part of the largest chain in Australia. After working in corporate banking later in life, he left to start Prana On, a supplement range which is now carried in stores across Asia, including Australia, New Zealand, Brunei, Indonesia, Singapore, Hong Kong and New Zealand, either directly or through a distributor. After gaining a sterling reputation among vegans and non-vegans alike for Prana On, ECO Superfoods launched a second brand, Kaya Health, a nutritional supplement formulated for weight loss. Billy is an advocate for healthy eating, the environment and compassion for both people and animals. To celebrate his 10th year of advocacy work, he teamed up with In Defense of Animals to launch a global high school speaking tour to inspire young adults to lead a life of strength and kindness. A popular speaker, he's currently writing a book to share his journey, lessons and teachings for success, and is the host of the recently launched Power Plant Radio podcast. In this interview, Billy talks about what gives his company a point of difference and why he refuses to pitch against competitors, what draws non-vegans to the Prana On brand, how he came up with the Prana On name and what it means, what he looks for in a brand ambassador and people seeking sponsorship from the company, why he chose to employ a sales team in Australia rather than using a distributor, the benefits to the business of launching his own podcast, how to scale up your business the smart way, why you shouldn't give away equity in your company just for dollars alone and what to seek instead, and much more. Here's the interview with Billy Simmonds from ECO Superfoods. Hello, Billy. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Katrina. How are you?
Oh, very good. Very happy to speak with you because I believe you're in California at the moment in Orange County. So you're a very busy person traveling all over.
Yeah, the travel doesn't stop. I'm just here for some work and trade conferences. and then I'll be returning back to the Gold Coast, which is home in Australia.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Well, look, the first thing I always ask everyone on the podcast is why they do what they do. So you've very much got a background in fitness, and you started your company, ECO Superfoods. So tell us a bit about the why. Why do you do what you do, and why did you start the company?
Wow. Okay. So my big why is really, first of all, personally, it's providing an example of what can be achieved following an ethical and vegan lifestyle. And that's most relevant for me in the athletic realm. So in the sports that I've been pursuing for a long time, which is bodybuilding, powerlifting, and martial arts, I've really put myself forward and said, okay, I'm going to compete. I'm going to show people rather than just tell them that I believe it's an advantageous way to improve your health and your performance. I'll compete at a high level. And then I guess the company for me is an extension of that. And it's really providing a solution then by saying to people, okay, so plant-based vegan is the way to go. And in the fitness community, there's a huge I guess myth that you need things like whey protein, which is from dairy. You need meat. You need all these things. So that's a real big part of the culture and the psyche in those genres. And so the company for me provides solutions that are all vegan based to say, hey, you don't need to have whey protein. We've got an excellent, plant-based protein that tastes amazing, and it really opens up the mindset of people in that community to say they can interact with vegan products, they can start to learn more about the benefits of vegan nutrition, and then also by virtue of that, they're learning also about the ethics and also the environmental advantages of it. So I see it as a gateway just to promote that message in a way that I can relate to in my community.
Fantastic. I love that. It's a really great example of a mission-driven entrepreneur that you're able to, as you said, I love the fact that you said you provide a solution, which is really important, because you're right. It's all very well to sort of preach to people about this stuff, but to actually walk your talk and provide solutions, I think is fantastic. So thanks for sharing that. So in terms of that then, in regards to your main clientele, are they mainly vegans, or what percentage of your customers are vegan compared to non-vegan?
Well, I believe that the vegans love what we're about because they look behind the service of the company and they see me, they see what we stand for, they see that we do a lot in terms of supporting sanctuaries and animal activism groups. At the same time, they love that fact because in our community, there isn't a lot of companies that, first of all, are completely vegan, and we're certified vegan through vegan.org. Which is a UK-based organisation. So they conduct an audit of both our facility and our ingredients to ensure that there's no animal products or byproducts whatsoever in our what we produce. And we don't have any animal products used on our equipment either. So that's really for us a point of difference in the market. And I think the vegans really relate to that. That community sees that and says, thank you so much for not only being 100% vegan and promoting it the right way, but also the fact that we do it in a way that's cool. So we're not like a daggy fringe business. We're a mainstream company. And I have to say our biggest clientele are non-vegans. They just know, first of all, a lot of them probably know me and my background in fitness. And then they also are drawn to the brand because they also, whilst they may not be vegan, they at least can appreciate that what I've stood for so many years and what the brand stands for is that. And so when they're looking to maybe incorporate vegan products into their regime, is really the brand is Prana On, and so many people out there that they want to try a vegan product, or they know it's better for them, but they've been held back because they don't like the taste, they don't like the look, they don't like who's behind it. There could be a whole bunch of reasons. With our brand, we kind of tick those boxes that welcomes them in and says, hey, we don't mind if you're not a vegan. This is what we're about. But everyone's on their own journey. I didn't start on this earth as a vegan, and it wasn't until the later half of my life that I started going plant-based. So I think that having that mindset as a company and a culture and as a brand, we attract so many people that aren't vegans.
Brilliant. No, that's wonderful, because that's what we want to do. I mean, it's great. Like the vegans, we always find out, the cool vegan products, because that's just what we do. But it's great when it's important to really get out there into the mainstream. And I'm assuming as well that the supplements are obviously, sports people are going to get them, but anyone can have them, like to improve their general health and fitness. Is that right?
Absolutely. So we have customers from all walks of life. I've got everyone from young boys, teenage boys that just want to put on weight and their parents are worried about what they're taking. And so they want a clean product that's going to help them, particularly boys that are growing really fast. They don't have a lot of weight on them. And they don't want them having products that are laden with chemicals or animal products in their bodies.
Yeah.
So they love us. And then I've had everyone right up into the other end of the scale. I've had I would say probably an 80-year-old grandmother that she got told by her doctor, you need to have more protein, and she can't really eat it as efficiently as say a young man. So she finds that our products help meet that need. So we have all walks of life, and certainly general health, performance, vitality, energy, they're all aspects that our products promote.
Got it. So you started out in fitness, and then you started essentially a supplement company. That's quite a big change. So I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about what some of the key challenges were when you first started the company with the Prana On brand?
Well, I left, so I worked in the industry, in the supplement industry, actually 20 years ago in a health food store that is part of the largest chain in Australia. And actually this month, it's their 30th year anniversary. And they've actually put me on the front cover and done a big story on Prana On.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we're ranged through 150 of their stores across the country. And that store that I used to work at 20 years ago is where my journey to being vegan began. So it's and that particular store, it's a health food store that I would stack the shelves and I'd learn all about the industry and I'd learn all about health and nutrition, and that's what started me on that journey. I left corporate banking later on in life and got the company started, and it took a few different ways for me to try and get the brand going and get it out there to people. And then some of the challenges for me that I've faced have always been, as any entrepreneur may experience, it's money, it's the people, it's the timing, it's so many different aspects. We run a very, I would say, a decent medium-sized business now with everything from procurement, manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, sales, back office. So there's a lot of moving parts to our business now.
Yeah.
But it's certainly in the early days when it was just me, it was really just the hardest challenge I had was keeping the dream alive in spite of a lot of reasons and opportunities that could have led me to give up.
Yeah, because it's a very competitive industry, isn't it? The supplements industry. It's really, lots of big players in there. So what do you think have been, you touched on that, you said some of the challenges. If you can expand a little bit about on what they were and how you overcame them.
Well, there's a lot of, it's very established. It's a very mature industry and it's very much driven by fads. I think that timing now, that the vegan movement is certainly growing. So the timing has really, I believe, been good to us as a company. But I guess when I started getting going, some of those challenges, in particular, just keeping the dream alive, I was frustrating trying to get samples done of the products. It was extremely frustrating getting stores to believe that a vegan product could sell the way it sells. You've got a lot of companies fighting for the same shelf space in a store. So there was enormous hurdles trying to get it into becoming a preeminent brand that's blocked in every store and all the major retailers across the country and internationally. That's taken the amount of challenges, Katrina, I mean, there's been hundreds and they continue. I think the way to overcome them is to evolve and is to see them as an opportunity to become better. So in every time that there's a challenge presented, it just comes down to your mindset in dealing with it. Is this an opportunity to grow and become better, or is it the issue that is the undoing?
Yeah, that's interesting about the mindset. Yeah, for sure. So now you said that you're in several retail outlets across Australia and New Zealand, I believe. Are they predominantly health food stores, or I'm just curious about approximately how many you're in and what type of outlets they are?
The brand is currently across Southeast Asia, so a number of countries: Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong. Might have said Indonesia, but that's a market for us as well. And then we've got New Zealand, Australia. So the brand is probably ranged in I'd say under 1,000 stores, probably a bit less than that, but certainly somewhere between the maybe 500 to 1,000 places across those regions. So it's hard to pinpoint a number because in any given situation, you have stores drop out the bottom that don't trade anymore, or for whatever reason don't reorder. But in any one point in time, you'd probably have about 500 stores, and then in the other regions that we have distribution in, I wouldn't know. I think it'd be I really don't know how many stores, but
right. So are you saying you'd supply direct to some stores and then you have distribution for others?
Yeah, so in other countries, so take Singapore for example. So we have a company that distributes our products there, and they are responsible for getting them out to stores. So that just is the business practice that has been undertaken, and so that's why it's hard to pinpoint an exact number.
Sure. So what about in Australia? You supply directly to the stores. You don't use a distributor here.
No.
How come?
We don't. We've invested in a full-time sales force in every state of the country, and that was a conscious decision, because if you go with the distributor, you're giving away a lot of margin. You're also giving away the story. You're giving away the brand's exclusivity in a sense of it's now a brand in amongst other brands for a distributor that might carry 10 plus brands. So I think that for us to really stand out in the market, it's about having people that are dedicated to our mission as a company. And that only comes about by building a team.
Wow. So you've actually got those people on staff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. That's interesting. I think because some business owners I've spoken to, they've told me a few horror stories around distributors. And part of that is what you touched on, in that you just become one of many brands. And because they're a distributor representing all these brands, they can't possibly represent yours to the best they possibly can in the way that, someone who's dedicated to do that. So do you think that's been key to your success?
It's certainly been part of it. I know brands that do very well with distributors, but in our industry, the distributors are very active. They take on new brands all the time. So we're in it for the long haul. So we need our own team talking about our brand, and we're building those relationships with customers.
Got it. Fantastic. Wonderful. So we talked about we've touched on the fact there's actually now more even a diverse range of vegan and plant-based supplements, perhaps not yet in Australia, but certainly internationally. And I think you've touched on this a little bit, but I was just curious about how you go about standing out and maintaining clients and customers, and whether you've got any plans to perhaps go overseas into, say, the UK or the US markets, and how you think you'll stand out in that arena.
Certainly. So I think standing out is all about authenticity and your story. So we're not a Me Too company. There's plenty of plant-based vegan options out there available to people, but a lot of people look behind the product and want to know a little bit about the brand, and they want to know who's behind it. There's a lot of information out there, and people are good at dissecting it these days. So I think that authenticity is a key point of difference that we've got as a company. So we're not just jumping on the bandwagon. it's been a mission of mine to bring these products to the market for a long time. So that resonates in the community that we have, because I've been active in that community. The relationships I've got with my customers are, in a lot of cases, because they're my friends. They're people that I know. They're people that I've built relationships with when I was an athlete, or when I was a consumer, or just when I was in the business world. So I think that's a really strong point. As far as the UK and US goes, yeah, they're certainly big markets, and over time I'd like to be able to participate in those. But at the same time, I think that Australia is also, for us, that's a really big focus, because it is a community that I understand, that I know, and it's a market that I think that we can still do better in.
Yeah, for sure. And I like that you've touched on the whole relationships and collaboration, which I was going to ask about as well, because a lot of, in marketing circles, people say, oh, you shouldn't even think about having competitors, that everyone is really a collaborator, and potentially to do joint ventures with. So what are your thoughts on that? And what kind of partnerships, if any, have you done with perhaps other supplement companies or complementary companies?
Sure. So in terms of competition, there's other companies out there that pitch against us, and for us as a brand, we don't pitch against anyone else. We are who we are. And
what do you mean pitch against you?
Well, they will compete against us. They will talk about us in comparison to them. So they might.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
They might be with a customer, and they might say, our brand is better, our products are better than Prana On for these reasons. We don't need to do that. We're not trying to compete against anyone. I believe we'll continue to evolve and innovate and carve our own space. So I'm building a tribe and a community of customers and loyalists to the brand and what we stand for. And I don't believe that in that space, then we're threatened by competition. And at the same time, there's certainly a lot of other companies we can collaborate with. I appreciate that there actually needs to be competitors. There needs to be brands out there telling their story, because there can't just be one brand.
Yeah.
If you can't be all things to all people. And I like that there's other companies out there doing interesting things. Certainly some of them are doing things that I wouldn't necessarily believe in or support. That's their prerogative, and there's a market for them too. So I think that's healthy. I think that as long as there's companies out there innovating, everyone has got a place. And at the same time, that causes us to be also mindful of continuing our story as well and not becoming complacent.
Yeah, nice. And I like that aspect of, you don't need to, I'm a great believer in, you don't have to trash so-called competitors in order to elevate yourself. And I think on a sort of unconscious level, I think certainly some customers would pick up on that and feel it's a bit icky. So that's a great approach. So on marketing and PR then, can you tell us about what are some of the marketing strategies that you've used that have been successful in growing the business?
I think just being active in the community, and that for us that's involved with being at fitness expos, trade shows, events, and also social media. So we've got a very strong presence physically. So if there's big events, we like to be there, and in fact, in most cases we're always there at all the expos, events, and that's both mainstream fitness events and then vegan specialty events, also, and different athletic sports, so CrossFit, bodybuilding, yoga. So we're in those communities and we're in those events that they hold, generally the bigger ones. And then at the same time, our social media, which is where we're able to harness the viral aspect of what we do, which is when people love what you stand for and love your products, they will pitch, they will put it out to their friends, they will share that information, they will post about you, and then having that engagement on the other side with our social media team to be able to continue that feedback loop. So therefore we're creating this vibe and this idea that, wow, you guys are everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do.
Absolutely. What social media platforms are you most active on or have been most successful?
Instagram and Facebook for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And what kind of content do you put out? Like, are you constantly just like promoting the actual products, or are you creating more? What content do you find gets most engagement?
I think again that authenticity. So I think it's about people. It's about the community. It's about what they're doing. It's about how the products support what they're doing. So social media is an excellent platform for us. It's enabled us to really build on the community that we already had and that I brought into the brand. And it's always evolving as well. We also, Facebook, we always put links out there to articles and features around more general health and things that are maybe a bit outside the scope of just our brand. And then I also do a podcast myself. So we've got Power Plant Radio.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. Tell us a bit about that, why you started it and what benefits are you getting or hoping to get from it? Because I think it's quite new, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So we're actually, we've done 3 episodes and I've got a further 5 before the year is out. And it's a great way. We're filming it on for YouTube. It's also on Facebook Live. We can have people actually put questions to us as we're doing the podcast. And it's also on iTunes and SoundCloud. And the feedback's been excellent. And it's just about, they're not necessarily people that are sponsored athletes. They're not necessarily vegan, but they're people that have a great standing in their community. And I take great pleasure in speaking with them, learning something from them. They also, in most cases, they're a part of our tribe, so they're a part of our brand in some way, and they also share a lot of the philosophies that the brand espouses.
Got it. So in terms of the benefits you're hoping to bring to the business, is it about you're getting guests on and then they share it with their communities, so it helps to build your brand awareness in that way? Is that right?
It is, and really, it's as a company, you have a certain amount of dollars you can spend on marketing every year, for example. And for me, that's a smarter spend because I'm able to invest in telling our story and building on the philosophy of the brand versus putting money into a magazine, a mainstream magazine, or print media or TV advertising, where the narrative is controlled by that particular forum or editor. So I prefer to be able to unedited and unadulterated and uninfluenced bring into our community. So it's not only a benefit for, sure, they'll share it with their community. At the same time, it's bringing our community more of a richer experience by bringing more information, and we're able to do that in a way that isn't filtered, which is a problem with media these days. So I would rather spend my money on the message that I want for our tribe and our community to receive, rather than put it out there and then suddenly, I'll give you an example of that. I had a particular news channel do a story on me about some of the talks I've been doing and the company. And then it got dropped because there was a story that was going to be after mine, which is about sheep shearing. And they felt that what I was talking about, which is animal cruelty-free and of course, vegan lifestyle, conflicted with the story about sheep shearing. So they kept the sheep shearing and dropped my story. So
yeah, that can happen. Yeah,
that's right. So that actually really affected me and sort of prompted me to say, well, you know what, I'll invest in media that I can control and I'll grow it that way. And sure, it might not have the same level of following initially, but at least it's authentic. At least it's not going to get pulled at the last minute because of other reasons. So
yeah. I mean, that is something, because obviously, I train people to do their own PR and to put themselves out there into media. And obviously, it's true, nothing is guaranteed, and sometimes things get dropped. But there can be benefits to doing both. And I know you've been featured in some other media as well, which is great. But no, thank you for sharing that. And as I say, it's good to kind of have that balance between getting out there in the media and also creating and becoming the media, which is what we can do nowadays, which people couldn't really do before. So that's fantastic. Now, in terms of the word vegan, then, in your marketing materials and your branding on your website, there's two schools of thought. One is that, it's still a scary word. Maybe we should use plant-based. And the other is that, no, it's becoming more trendy now. It's okay to use it. Tell us a bit about your philosophy around how much or how prominent you use the word vegan or not.
Well, proudly, all of our products have got on the front certified vegan. So immediately, if people are looking at the brands, they'll identify that as a vegan product. If you look at our social media, because of the acronym of Prana On, the P stands for plant-based. So the whole word Prana On is an acronym.
I was going to ask you about that. So, tell us about that.
Yeah, so Prana is Sanskrit, one of the oldest languages on earth.
For breath, is it?
Life force,
yeah.
Life so force. Breath or life force, yeah. And so Prana is really what I found a lot of our customers, before I had a name for the brand, when they were just using the protein that I had, that I was making sample runs for, they said to me, wow, I feel fantastic. And these are people that they're not vegan, they're athletes, they train really hard. And they said, I love your protein, it tastes amazing. And having done a lot of yoga at the time, I really felt that was their prana really turning on. So that word prana was what was happening to them. Their prana was turning on. But then Prana On is also an acronym for what our products are crafted with, which is plant-based, raw, alkaline, natural, and gluten-free organic nutrients. So Prana On is what our products do, and Prana On is what they're made from. So for me, that plant-based was part of the formation of the brand. And I really don't see a difference, to be honest, in marketing, whether it's vegan or plant-based. I felt like a couple of years ago it might matter, but more and more vegan is being associated with health, the cruelty aspects of animal products have become more and more prevalent. Certainly in my Facebook and social media feed, I can't get away from it.
I know.
So I'm sure that's like everyone else out there. I know I do follow a lot of vegan people, but still there's a heap of information out there. There's more and more vegan options coming available in the mainstream. So I don't feel that it's a word that we need to stray away from. Although I will say that we all know people that may associate themselves as vegans, and they're not the best at putting the message out there, and they therefore tarnish maybe the hard work that people are trying to do out there. But they're a small minority, and I just don't believe that now that's an issue. That it used to be vegan was hippie, vegetarian was hippie, all that kind of stuff, or it was fringe. But it's so much more mainstream now. I think that to me, I see it as a product attribute. So
nice.
if your product is marketed as vegan, that isn't, or it is vegan, that's an attribute that many companies now are picking up on. That's worthwhile stating. So it simply summarizes that, hey, this product is free from any allergens generally, or certainly the animal-based allergens, and then it obviously lends itself to being cruelty-free and potentially better for the environment. So it's a stamp now of approval versus being a product that might isolate or ostracize people that weren't necessarily vegan.
Yeah, for sure. I know when I've been to a couple of the trade shows here, the organic trade or natural expo trade shows here, and so many of them now, the word vegan is all over the place, which is fantastic. And it's nice that, like you say, you've got such good feedback about the product and how it tastes amazing and how it makes people feel good. And having that associated with the word vegan is a real plus, isn't it? Because we've got so many decades of negative stereotyping to get over. So, yeah, that's good. I like that. I asked that question of everyone, and everyone answers in a different way, because it does depend, I think, on the type of business they have, whether it's a service provider or a product business. So it's great to hear that. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
We talked about we touched on it earlier about the collaboration, and I believe you have a brand ambassador program whereby you choose certain people to sponsor. So I'm curious about that and sort of how it works and what the benefits are to the business.
So we have certain people that have good or strong standing in their community. They might be influencers, so they're either achieving a high level in their chosen modality of sport, or they are a social media influencer, or they're an influencer in the mainstream media, that they love what the brand stands for, and they also carry a lot of weight as far as their community goes. So our brand has benefited from having people that endorse the product, and they do it authentically. So these are people that were using the product anyway. Generally, they're people that were already endorsing our product in some way, shape or form, and we've just formalized it and said, okay, we'd love to have you as part of our community, as someone that we can show up to other people that look at our brand and say, this person's using it or that person's using it. So that's been a real plus for us, and it's been a big aspect as far as our growth goes, as well as having people that really believe in what we're about and sharing it with their community.
Yeah, it's interesting you touch on that. You say they were already using the product anyway and it was authentic, because I know sometimes there's a bit of sort of, I suppose, wariness around so-called, brand ambassadors, in that it's like, I guess it's been personified by the Kardashians, being paid to spruik products on social media, what have you. So do you just provide, when you choose those people, do you just provide them with free product or payment, but they're already on board with the product anyway? Is that right?
I won't put them on, Katrina, unless they already, first of all, if they're not already paying for our product, then that to me is an issue. If they just want free product, then they're already not on my radar, because if they're not prepared to pay for it, then how do they expect anyone else to, or really do they think it's worth, what we ask for it? So they already have to be prepared to already buying it. That to me, if they're already doing that, great, then they are already a true user of the product. And secondly, are they already sharing it, or are they talking about it, promoting it to their friends? If they're doing those two things, buying it, and secondly, are they promoting it already without having to be asked or incentivized, then I'm interested, because if they're doing that, then it's authentic, and that's the first test. Are they an authentic person that actually believes in what we do? If they don't pass that test, they're not an ambassador. It's as simple as that.
Got it. It's interesting, because I think a lot of companies wouldn't take that kind of ethical approach that you are. I think a lot of brands would go, oh, good, that person's already promoting our stuff anyway. Why should we bother paying them or giving them free stuff? So I think it's actually quite a nice ethical stance that you're taking there.
Well, it actually, again, it lends itself to that authenticity that I believe is different about our brand to other brands.
Definitely. I think that's a real standout. I think that's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So Billy, for those people who are perhaps where you were a while ago when you were in your banking job, and they're aspiring to own their own business and run it on, vegan principles, what, in your opinion, what are the key things they need to do or to take into account before quitting their jobs and becoming self-employed?
Well, they say that you make a living during the day and you build your fortune during the night. So I would say to them that they're going to have to work hard to bring that dream into realization before they turn around and lose their income, because that money that they're now having to live on from the business could be reinvested back in the business to help it grow. So I had staff before I'd quit my job. So I had people promoting the products in places before I'd left where I was working at the time. So that was important to me, because I realized that for every dollar I took out, that was one less dollar I could reinvest in growing the product pool, growing inventory, growing, having marketing people, all those kind of things. So I made sure that the business already was sustainable, so that when I had to rely on it, that I could do that. And it wasn't easy, but certainly it was the best decision for me to be able to then have enough of a business there to support me within 6 months.
Within 6 months, was it? And then you were able to work on it, leave your job and work on it full time?
No, well, I'd actually, I did the first way around, actually, Katrina. I did leave my job I did leave banking with a bit of money, and then I literally ran it all down trying to get the business going. So then I had to go back and start working again, and I started working, and virtually part-time, but it paid well. And then at the same time, I was building the brand and building up that side of the business. So, and I still maintained an income from the job that I had.
Oh, fantastic. Now, thank you for sharing that. I think it's good for people to hear that it doesn't mean that if you do what you did, and I've had other people I've interviewed on the show who have said similar things, they kind of quit their job and then they actually had to go back part-time for a while, and one person even went back full-time, I think, and then eventually they got to a stage where they were able to run the business full-time. So I think it's good for people to hear that, so they don't think, oh my God, I've got to go back and get a day job, it means I failed. It doesn't. It just means that you're making a smart move to sustain your business. So I appreciate you sharing that. So on that, I guess that leads nicely into funding. We're just coming up to the final couple of questions now. In terms of funding the business, so if as much as you're comfortable saying, I'm curious, what were some of the ways that you managed to grow the company? Because like you say, you've got staff, you've got a sales team, you're in all these retail stores, you've got a successful business. So how have you funded it, and what do you think are the pros and cons? So for example, I don't know if you have investors or loans, whatever you're comfortable with sharing.
Sure. So I think that being a banker, I haven't gone down the path of getting bank debt because I know that typically what that entails. So without any trading history, without signing over your house, which is what you have to do, I didn't want to, debt funding wasn't the way to go. So certainly initial investments or small seed investment can help. But ultimately, if the business isn't going to stand on its own 2 feet anyway, then you don't really have a business. You've got, I don't know what to call it. It's not a charity. It's something else. It's an exercise in futility, because a business should be profitable. A business should make money. So how much it makes depends on a whole range of things. But if your business model is right, then you can actually do it without having to seek external funding. So and that's by scaling it. That's by, if you want to have a company that does $100 million a year, then first have a company that does $50,000 a year. So I believe it's just about scaling. You might have big dreams, you might have grand ideals, but really bringing that back and at the same time not overspending, not overcapitalizing on certain things, but just always thinking about, is this model sustainable and is this going to work? Can I keep doing it this way, and then build on it? Because if you've got a business that relies on just one person and the profit margin is quite small, you'll never be able to put on other people because the profit or the expenses just can't go up that high. So it really is about understanding how to look at your margins, how to also reinvest as well, so not take anything out or take very little out initially, and being smart about that. So there's businesses that will invent a product, they'll get it contract manufactured, and then they'll get it put it with the distributor, and they're left with just a small margin in the middle to market the brand and build a business.
Yeah,
and that's pretty hard, and you'll spin your wheels after a while. After a year or two, you get off the ground. It is very hard to then scale up. You've got to then suddenly try and either manufacture yourself, or then you've got to try and distribute yourself. Whereas if you actually just started doing those things as best you could in the initial stages, you can then build on those other sides of the business, and then ultimately you've got more margin to reinvest and to bring in people and scale up. So there's many different ways that funding can work. If you can, try to do it without funding, and try and do it with scaling. So I respect all those businesses that start like I did, out of the boot of a car or out of a farmer's market or somewhere, because it's passion that'll get you going and that'll keep you going. And if you can then start seeing the bigger picture and build on that success and keep scaling up and do it smart, you can be at the other side of it with a business you can be proud of.
Yeah, it's interesting you said about the scaling up, because as you were saying that, I was thinking, we see like TV shows like Shark Tank, and, the investors on there, they're all about, taking businesses and scaling up. And it's kind of curious to be how I think it can be tricky for some businesses to scale up without that external money coming in, which is why a lot of them kind of get into doing those deals with investors. And obviously that has advantages, but it also has disadvantages as well. So it's interesting that you've been able to do that, to scale up without the need, I assume, for external or giving away part of your company.
Yeah, look, there's different ways. I think if you're going to give up part of your company, it's not just, shouldn't be just for dollars, it should be for skill set. So have someone that can actually bring a set of skills to the table as well, that can assist you with that growth. So if you throw money at a bad business, the money's just going to go anyway. If you have someone that's got skills, they actually can then contribute towards that growth picture as well, and they've got skin in the game and they can participate in that as well. So I think if whenever there's money on the table, in terms of equity, it should be with a skill set, or at least an advisory position, someone that can actually assist you as someone else you can turn to, because it can be a lonely world out there in business. Yeah. So someone you can turn to and say, what do I do here? What do I do there? And they've already got the runs on the board, all those success stories that they can look at and then start to assist.
Got it. That's really good advice, actually. Very good advice. Yeah, not just going for the dollar amount, which, I often get people contacting me saying, I've got this great idea for a business. I don't have any money. Who can you, connect me with that can invest? And it's like, people are not generally going to invest unless you've got, like you said, some skin in the game. And it's not all about the dollars. It is having someone there, to help and mentor you and bring that skill set in. So that's fantastic advice. So just to wrap up then, Billy, what's your long-term vision for ECO Superfoods? Because you created the brand Prana On, but now I think you've got an umbrella company called ECO Superfoods, under which you're introducing additional brands as well, if that's right. So tell us a little bit about what your long-term vision is for the company and for yourself.
Yeah, we'd love to become a company that provides solutions to all types of consumers in the health and supplement superfood space. So that's the idea of bringing in other brands that resonate with another type of consumer, or that our customers can look to and look for a different solution. So for us, it's about, as a company, building a great team, being a different company, standing for what we believe is right, and that's, I believe, conscious capitalism. So being mindful of our impact on the environment, staying away from products that involve any animal cruelty, and providing the very best health solutions out there in the market. So that's what we're going to do as a company. And for us, it's about bringing and attracting the right people to help us achieve that vision. And it's a very exciting journey to be on. And I think it's still really early days, despite having some success now. I'd like to think that there's still room to grow.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's been absolutely lovely speaking to you, and, really speaking to a genuinely ethical brand and seeing it profitable. Because I think, in the past, it's kind of like, there's this sort of mindset. And I think particularly in activist circles, and I've discussed this with other guests on the show, of, in order to be, successful and make money, you've got to be evil and, hurt people, animals, or, ruin the planet. And I always find it very inspiring to speak to businesses such as yourself that, like you said, they are profitable, they're making it a success, but they're also making a difference, which is fantastic. So I'm very excited about your success to date, and I've no doubt that it's going to go even greater, which is wonderful. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Billy. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Katrina. It's been great joining you, and I look forward to hearing more of your shows as well. I'm a great listener, and I think that what you do is fantastic. It's highlighting that businesses that do stand for something, and obviously business leaders, entrepreneurs that are finding their way in the world, despite what you've said, that there's that view that you can't do it ethically, or you can't have a profitable company, or you've got to burn people along the way. But I do believe that you can certainly build something that you can be proud of.
Awesome. So that was Billy Simmonds from ECO Superfoods. You can find out more at ecosuperfoods.com.au. And that link is on the show notes page at veganbusinessmedia.com/podcasts and going to episode 88. Now for our vegan business news roundup. A new online vegan supermarket based in the UK has launched with a filter system to allow people to select products based on their personal values. Notfrom.com offers items that are cruelty-free, not from animals, and planet-friendly. As well as offering all natural foods, all the products are plant-based and have fewer or no nasties in them. The goal is to assure customers that the products they buy have little impact on the planet. Some of the filters include biodegradables, palm oil, and zero waste. Consumers can even filter by gluten content and calories. In the long term, founders Dana Levy and her husband said they plan to follow the lobbying and legislation route to drive change for the vegan and sustainable movements. So again, we're seeing a point of difference with vegan businesses, in this case providing customers with the ability to filter their vegan items even further. Great stuff. Elmhurst Milked, the former New York dairy giant that switched to producing plant-based milks last year, that's 2016, plans to release more new products. Joining its current line of cashew, hazelnut, almond and walnut beverages, which are made with the company's patented cold milling technology, are milked oats, milked brown rice, milked peanuts chocolate, milked almonds unsweetened, and milked hazelnuts unsweetened. The dairy had been running for more than 90 years before 83-year-old CEO Henry Schwartz made the decision to ditch cows and use nuts and other grains to make plant-based milks. Excellent decision. Elmhurst Milked is also set to launch a vegan egg replacer made with aquafaba in February 2018. Fantastic. Love seeing the innovation from a company that saw the light and embraced plant-based products completely. Finally, while it's not quite following Elmhurst Milk's lead yet in completely eliminating animal products, a Dutch meat company is shifting half its focus to plant-based proteins, reports Dutch News. Family firm Svanenberg Food Group, which has been in business since 1929, is making the move in response to a decline in consumption of meat products. Owner and director Aldo van der Laan said this trend towards eating less meat is irreversible. As a food producer, we're looking to profit from this by buying specific companies or building more factories, he said. The company is aiming for 50% of its turnover to come from non-meat products such as vegetarian snacks, soups and sauces. How great is this? It just goes to show that as activists we can influence both society and business by driving down consumption of animal products. And this is what needs to happen more and more so that plant-based products become the norm. Exciting times. So that's it for this episode of Vegan Business Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a review and rating on iTunes or any other platform you're listening on. Finally, I encourage you to head over to veganbusinessmedia.com where you can find more resources, including details of my media and PR consultations, copywriting, editing and proofreading services to help you grow your vegan business. I'm Katrina Fox, author of Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business, and I look forward to catching up with you in the next episode of Vegan Business Talk. Bye for now.